Vandals Weekly back for the 2025 season. I think this is year number three for us doing Vandals Weekly. And this week we are happy to be joined by Joshua Wood. He is the incumbent and incoming quarterback for the Idaho Vandals, a transfer into Idaho this last offseason. Josh, thanks for being here, man. How you doing?
Thank you. I'm doing good. Thank you. Thank you.
First of all, just tell us about this opportunity that you have there in Idaho. You come in under a new coaching staff, and certainly a lot of hype around Thomas Ford, which sort of carries over with a lot of hype from the Jason Eck era. A lot of momentum there in Idaho. So, what was the draw to Idaho for you? What sort of led you to Moscow?
It's a blessing to start off just having the opportunity to be a Vandal in the first place. And once I hit the portal, Coach Ford he had called me and gave me the blueprint. Told me what I had to do, what was the plan with everything, what guys were here, who stayed and withdrew from the portal. Um, and there was a lot of seniors on this team that stayed here to get a national championship. And with seeing the roster and seeing the guys that were here, I really liked it, loved it, and loved the coaching staff. There was a couple of changes in the coaching staff that had happened, and when I came on my visit, it was really lovely. Being able to get to know the coaches, get to know, who they are as a person and as a coach as well. And so once everything happened and fell into place, it was just home from then.
You're from the west side of Washington. Did you have any connection to Coach Ford or even his brother? I know Tracy Ford trains out there in Seattle too. Was there any previous connections with you guys?
Yeah, most definitely. I had knew Coach Ford since I was like, and just had gotten to high school and everything. So there was already a connection there for sure. And then yeah, I trained down at FSP for Sports Performance. So there was a little bit of a connection there as well. But just already knowing Coach Ford and being able to know him and understand what he was trying to build here and what we continue to build here. It was just amazing through the process.
Another interesting tie is that your last game at Fresno State was actually in the famous Idaho Potato Bowl. So sort of a preview of things to come, right? So well, you played great in that bowl game. So did that help you gain some confidence and carry some of that confidence into this last off season?
Yeah, throughout that whole season, I mean, my confidence was high. Just being ready to go on the field when my number was called, control the things I can control, and that bowl game led some confidence into the next season through the off season actually, and so just being able to show what I can do and put my play onto film, that was the biggest thing.
Joshua Wood joining us here on Vandals Weekly. He is the junior quarterback for the Idaho Vandals, transfer from Fresno State. So how's it been going so far? Maybe how would you just describe maybe the way that your skill set meshes with some of the stuff you guys want to do offensively? Broadly, you don't have to tell me the details of the intricacies of the scheme, but I mean, how do you think sort of your style of play fits what the coaches want out of you?
It definitely fits just being able to control the offense, execute very high, at a very high level. When things go in not where we want it to go, I can play make and make things happen. That's one attribute that I have that I can display and also help the team and just being able to be a leader in this offense and everything. It feel like we got a really high chance with everything going forward.
You have a lot of guys that decided to come back despite the coaching change, but then also a whole bunch of new guys that joined the roster too. So, what's the process like for bringing some incumbents and some newcomers together?
Right, just a lot of team bonding, a lot of hanging out over the summer, a lot of team chemistry building, just being able to do things on the field and off the field. Being able to see what the receivers doing, and running backs, O line, tight ends, whatever it is, and being able to all just mesh together and have the offense gel really well.
When it came to the quarterback competition, what was sort of your mentality going into it, and what did it feel like to win that at a new school?
Just coming in, I knew there was competition already. Being able to meet the guys and just meet my teammates in the quarterback room, it's all love and it's all family in there. And going into the competition, it was a mindset of going to be the starter. That's every QB's mindset when it's competition in fall camp. And so yeah, that was the mindset going in. And when Coach Thomas Ford, he called me up and said I was going to be QB1. I was very excited. I was very happy, and was just ready to lead this team.
One guy I saw Thomas had a clip on the other day is Sawyer Teeny, and I know he was a guy that's a walk-on freshman, but he's sort of climbed the depth chart. I know he earned himself a scholarship in recent days or weeks. So cool story, right? I mean, a guy that kind of came out of nowhere, but I know that they liked him out of high school. I can't wait to ask Coach Ford about that right after this. But what have you seen out of him in terms of growth, and what do you think has helped him sort of make himself a guy that's on the depth chart going into this opener?
He's been in the film room a lot, being with Coach Linehan, getting his extra work in, asking questions. That's really what is really big that I noticed. He asks questions and he learns from other guys' mistakes, and he turns them into execution on the other side. When it comes to his play, it shows in the film that he can do what he does and make plays, and that's what he's been doing.
Any thoughts on what the Big Sky Conference might be like coming from the Mountain West?
It's a lot of competition. That's what I've seen from the past videos and everything. Watching highlights and just seeing other teams as well. This past weekend, a couple Big Sky teams played, so you can see that there's a lot of high competition in the Big Sky.
Are you ready to tackle your next real estate adventure? Whether you're hunting for your first home or diving into big league land acquisitions, Array Real Estate is in your corner. At Array Real Estate, they are not just a real estate team, they are your agents for life. Array Real Estate's mission? To help you crush your real estate goals one deal at a time. Array Real Estate's roots run deep in the heart of the Pacific Northwest as proud alumni of the University of Idaho. With offices in Coeur d'Alene and Seattle, the team is here to give you a legendary real estate experience. Your success isn't just a goal, it's their top priority. Everything from cozy homes to land development to commercial spaces, Array Real Estate has you covered. They are all about making your real estate dreams come true with a dash of Vandal pride. Ready to make a move? Visit ArrayRealEstate.com and join the fun on Instagram at ArrayRE. Let Array Real Estate turn your dreams into wins. Array Real Estate, your go-to team for all things real estate and proud sponsors of Vandals Weekly. Array Real Estate will make real estate magic with you. I asked Justin Lamson this earlier this week too. He's the Stanford transfer that's going to start at Montana State. You playing in the FBS, you're playing at the highest level of college football, and you certainly want to be as good as you can be. But now you're at Idaho, where you're a top 10 team. I mean, you're a real, actual national championship contender. How does that feel? I mean, that must be so alluring for a competitor to know, like, hey, if things go right, we could actually make a run and win this whole thing.
Right. Yeah, I mean that's the reason why I came here. This is a championship contending team. There just needed specific parts to build it up and go into this season. This season is going to be really well, and just being able to know that this team can go and win a championship.
Vandals Weekly probably presented in part by Array Real Estate. Appreciate them for their continued support of all the stuff we got going on covering the Idaho Vandals. How would you just describe Thomas Ford as a coach? It seems like to me it seems like he's a player's coach. So how would you just describe sort of his coaching style and the personality he brings to being the head coach?
Definitely a player's coach. He brings high energy to every practice. He's going to make sure we're disciplined, keep the high energy at all times. Energetic guy, and he's gonna be hard on you, hard coaching, but he's gonna love you at the same time and make sure you know that you're loved.
And Matt Linehan is the offensive coordinator and your position coach at quarterback. What have you learned from him so far? I mean, he himself was an all-time great Idaho Vandal quarterback. So, what's it like playing the position for a guy that played the position at a high level, and what have you learned from him?
It's lovely being able to have a coach that's played your position, and especially playing at the school that you're at right now. It's been great being able to learn from him, understand and see things. Learn from his own mistakes that he had when he was playing. Being able to just read stuff that he wasn't able to read when he was in the game. If it's a read that he'll help me out with, and help all of us in the QB room, um, and just being able to tell us like what's gonna work and what isn't, because he's played the position. So it's like, being able to listen to him and understand that everything that he's saying is what's gonna come true.
I remember talking to Coach Ford just a couple weeks after he had gotten the job, and he was talking about, hey, we got to recruit the guys that are here first. I know a couple of the guys that he really did a good job of retaining are expected to be a couple not only of your best offensive linemen, but a couple of best offensive linemen in the league. Nate Azzopardi, as well as Leighton Vining. How much have those guys sort of anchored the offensive line, and what's your evaluation of the offensive line so far?
Most definitely. I feel like, we got the best offensive line in the FCS, and that's just my own opinion. And it's factual. Layton and Nate, they're leaders of this team. They lead that offensive line room, and they take ownership of that. They hold themselves to a high standard, and they hold the offense to a high standard. And them coming back, being the leaders that they are, it's going to bring our offense to a higher level of execution.
And then on the perimeter, who's emerged as guys that you think could really make plays? I know Lanyata Alexander has been around a little bit, but he's always been fun to cover. Great dude, first of all, but also a great playmaker. I'm sure he's stood out. Who else has? I guess start with Junior, and then tell me about some of the other receivers.
Yeah, Lanyata Alexander, and then we got Tony Harsty. We got Emerson that's going to be on the outside. We got RJ Ryan. Michael Graves, and we got a lot of other guys that Davion Superalis. We got a lot more guys than people think that are going to be on the outside making plays for us, and they're 50-50 balls up in the air. They're going to go and get it, and I believe they will, and always trust them.
Is that how you would describe yourself as a quarterback? Is a guy that trusts your receivers and lets them kind of go out and make plays?
Most definitely. I trust everyone in this offense. Whoever it is, when the ball's in their hands, I trust them to go and make a play.
How about the opener then? Washington State, that not a far trip for you guys, only about 10 minutes up the road. So it's always fun when you get a little battle of the Palouse. Any early impressions of the Cougs, and what do you think of just playing an FBS right out the gate?
I feel like it's going to be a great game. Being able to play an FBS team, we're blessed and honored, but at the same time, we don't see them as any other opponent. We see them the exact same as if they were an FCS team, or FBS. We see everyone as the same. There's no seeing them differently at all, and so we feel like it's going to be a great game.
Joshua Wood here on Vandals Weekly. Thanks so much for joining us, man. We'll catch up probably a couple other times throughout the season, but thanks so much for taking some time here today. Nice to meet you.
Most definitely. Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Town Pump's Pump It Up Rewards Plus program and never pay full price for fuel again.
Save 5 cents on every gallon every day at any town pump across Montana.
Plus, earn and redeem points on your favorite in-store items to get free stuff with our clubs.
Stop in and pick up a rewards card. Download the Pump It Up Rewards Plus app today.
Or visit townpump.com/rewards to register and start saving.
Right down the road, pump it up, oh yeah.
Vandals Weekly rolls on here on the Big Sky Breakdown podcast series, and we're joined now by Idaho first-year head coach Thomas Ford, a couple days away from his team's season opener at Washington State. Coach, thanks for being here, man. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
We'll jump right into it because we just got done talking to your quarterback. I want to talk some big picture stuff and some of the stuff you guys got done in the offseason for sure. But what an affable young man. I can totally see how he's been able to come in and win over a locker room, because what a nice guy and what a thoughtful young man he is. How much do you think that plays into it? I mean, you can tell right away he's got great personality. When a transfer quarterback's coming in, having sort of an affable personality, how much do you think that helps a guy sort of acclimate to a locker room?
I think it helps tremendously. Josh is a guy that really wanted to learn who his teammates were first, before the playbook, before all the procedures, everything we do, terminology. He was trying to get to know the boys. And so you can see that he is a genuine guy. And I think that definitely bodes well in the locker room whenever you bring in a transfer quarterback.
From a skill set perspective, what did you like about it? Obviously, you look at the resume from back to his high school days. I mean, unbelievable. I mean, he's Washington Gatorade Player of the Year,
Yep.
4-star recruit. So I mean, he obviously had the resume back then, but then it took a little while there for Fresno State for him to break through. What did you like about him in terms of sort of building your program around him, and how do you think he fits into your system?
Well, I think he's kind of what we're looking for at quarterback, right? A guy that can make all the throws, but obviously has some athletic ability as well. He can get himself out of a jam, extend plays, and then obviously be a dangerous weapon as a runner. And he's done that throughout his career. Obviously, last year, kind of mostly used as a running guy at Fresno State. But in the bowl game, I thought you really see what we see, a guy that can do it all. He's not just a guy that can get in there and be a gadget player. He truly can make full progression, full field progression reads, as well as be very dangerous with his legs. So I definitely think Joshua is the type of quarterbacks we like here, and it just happened to kind of be a match made in heaven. Him looking for a place and us looking for a guy.
It's an interesting balancing act for a guy that comes in as a transfer to try to, sort of assert themselves as a leader, but also kind of learn the dynamics of the locker room. So how do you think he balanced that element of this transition?
I think he did a phenomenal job. Obviously, like I said before, he really wanted to get to know his teammates first and foremost, and then he busts his butt. He was in there 2 hours a day all summer, watching film, trying to get acclimated with the playbook. So I think, his leadership, not just from a rah-rah perspective, but just by lead by example, has really been really good for our locker room and gets me fired up about our starting quarterback.
Vandals Weekly, probably presented by Array Real Estate. Appreciate them for being supporters of Vandals Weekly for 3 years going now. If you have any real estate needs anywhere between Coeur d'Alene and Seattle, they can take care of you. So tell me about the offseason. I know we checked in with you right after you got hired. We checked in with you during spring ball, but now here you are, and you've navigated a fall camp. You're into game week. So how would you sort of characterize that middle block of the year, sort of the post spring ball into now this game week? What sort of progress do you think your program made?
I think we made a ton of headway, especially throughout fall camp, really establishing our physical culture, as far as just really wanting to establish both sides of the line of scrimmage, having practices where we can be extremely physical, but staying off the ground. And so I think what you really see in this kind of transition period where we're getting to games is a focused group, right? We're not learning how to practice during the season. We kind of know how to practice. We know the expectation of our meetings and our practices. And I think our guys really kind of a jump start, so to say, on what the season will be like because we prepped them so much, right? Everything in the season is very schedule oriented, very routine based. And I think we did a good job in fall camp leading them into the season to have this kind of regimented schedule.
The physicality is such a huge component of this, right? Especially when you look at who's been, the cream of the crop in the FCS, right? I mean, the teams that have been in the Final Four for, I mean, basically since even before the pandemic, since 2018, 2019,
Yeah.
it's been North Dakota State, South Dakota State, Montana State. I mean, the
Yep.
teams that are the most physical
Yep.
teams. So, I mean, is that why you're putting such a high priority on it?
Yeah, having coached in this league before as an assistant, and it's very evident to me that if you're not physical, you're not going to have great success. Maybe you can win some games and maybe sneak into the playoffs, but I don't think you can have long-term success without really building a brand that's, physical in nature. And so that was definitely a focus for us. We want to, recruit big, strong, athletic guys up front on both sides, and I think we've done that. And Coach, credit to Coach Eck as well. It was definitely not a bare cupboard, especially on the offensive line. But I think our staff did a great job revamping that defensive line. Getting a couple of key transfers on the offensive line and a tight end as well, to really help. With that mentality of being physical in the trenches.
Well, that's such an interesting dynamic too, is just you taking over as a first year head coach. Because so often when you're a first year guy, you're taking over for a program where they moved on from a coach.
Right.
You need a rebuild. But you're
Yep.
taking over for a team that won 10 games last year and
Yep.
has been in the playoffs back to back years. So probably a balancing act for you too. I'm sure you want to put your own stamp on it. So how do you sort of carry some of the momentum you inherited, but also make things your own and sort of make the program in sort of the image of your staff?
Yeah, I think that was part of the draw in hiring me is that there was a lot of stuff I thought Coach Eck did really well. And, I'm a firm believer, man, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And so I thought we kept a lot of structures, some of the cultural things that, quite frankly, him and I were in lock and key with, right, as an assistant. And so, that part of it, and just again, like you said, how do I carve my own, niche here is, we have some things that are a little bit different. I think we or just have been a little bit more organized in some of the things that we do, and try to get way out ahead, scheduling, things like that, just where everybody is, rowing in the same direction. And so I think, what we've really tried to do is establish a brand that's similar to what has been, but has our own spin on it. And I think we've done a really good job of that.
Vandals Weekly, Thomas Ford joining us here on the Big Sky Breakdown podcast series. Six captains named earlier this week. Nate Azzopardi, who's a key returner. He's a guy that's been on Vandals Weekly a couple times. Love talking to that guy. He's a fun guy to talk to. Dylan Lane is a junior linebacker. Josh Wood, who we just heard from here on Vandals Weekly. Sam Brown, who's a senior defensive end. Tight end Jake Cox, and then senior defensive lineman Zach Kratzer. So just break down each one of those guys. What do you think helped each one of them sort of rise to become captains for Idaho this fall?
Well, when you look at the upperclassmen, right, the senior guys, Nate, Sam Brown, Zach Kratzer, Jake Cox, like those guys they've been here, right? They have played their entire careers here. They're guys that are Vandals through and through, guys that, were here when times weren't as great and when times got really good. And so I think they know the expectation level. And so it's pretty easy for those guys to be leaders and for their peers to want them to be captains, because the way we do our captain voting is kind of unique. You've got to apply. You send in a resume and a cover letter, and if it's good enough, you get on the ballot, right? We don't just put everybody on the ballot. And so I thought we had 11 guys on the ballot, and these six really truly represented, because again, it's chosen by their peers, and again, those older guys really represent again just the work that's been done to get the program to where we are now. And I'm really happy about those guys. And then our two underclassmen, obviously Dylan Lane, similar, right? He's in his fourth year, a guy that's been here since his freshman year. And then, obviously the one guy that was new was Joshua. But I definitely think that speaks volumes about how his teammates feel he has exemplified what we're trying to get accomplished here in Moscow. So very happy about the captains. They're all guys that I thought could be in that conversation. And clearly their teammates and peers thought the same.
I love that process. You have to actually say, "Hey, I want to do this." You have to claim leadership yourself, and then you submit a resume. Where did that come from? How did you sort of craft that as the way you wanted to go about picking these guys?
I've kind of researched some things about leadership, and oftentimes on a football team, if you just say, "Hey, vote for the guys you think are the captain," you get the guys that are the popular guys, right? And maybe they love them in the locker room, and they're leaders in a way, but maybe they're not leading in the way that you envision your program. So I thought, let's have a process. Let's make it so being a captain is more than a popularity contest, right? If you truly care about the program, you will do these things. And then when you get a chance to look at what what you send in, then you get to determine who's really in it for the right reasons. And I thought that process and selecting from those guys was going to give us just a more balanced and a much deeper group of applicants and guys that truly care about the program. And that's what you're looking for in the captains.
Well, at the end of the day, I mean, this is certainly about winning football games and establishing tradition and all those things, but it's also about education, right? And I mean, that's a great education tool. I mean, those guys, like prepping those guys for when they, move on from football and they got to go get a real job. So I love that. It's sort of like an entry level application process for a future profession, right?
No question. And obviously there's always that aspect. Because like you said, at the end of the day, we got to go win football games here. But I want to make sure that these guys know that this program is more than just football. We're preparing them for life. And I thought that the way we did our captains this year and obviously moving forward was a pretty good way, kind of segue into that. Like it's important to understand how to write a cover letter and a resume and try to sell yourself, in the jobs that you want. You want to be a captain. Well, it's just like if you want the job at the end of the day. So I definitely thought it was a cool resource to get those guys ready for post football as well.
When it comes to just your sort of influences in crafting how you think about leadership, what else has influenced you?
I think there's just, been a lot of stuff from my previous stops. A couple of really influential guys I really think of. Ray Richards is a guy I worked with, really worked for at Southeastern Oklahoma really early in my career. Ray was a guy that really taught me about balance, that you can be good in this profession and not be miserable. And so that was a big influence in how to kind of build a staff culture. Then I got a chance to, see a couple of different places and how they do things. And then, I ended up getting my way to Washington, and, being under Jimmy Lake, I thought really showed me a lot of how to do it at this level. He's from the Chris Peterson tree. And I think Chris Peterson's one of the greatest to ever do it. I have a good relationship with Coach Peterson. I didn't even think he knew who I was. But one summer I was at a camp when I was the head coach at Simon Fraser, and walked right up to me and started talking to me like we've been buddies for 15 years. So Coach Peterson's been awesome, and I think just his philosophy on being more than just football, right, has been huge influence on me, and kind of got that similar feel at Oregon State with Coach Bray. Coach Bray was under Jonathan Smith, who's a direct descendant, so to speak, of Chris Peterson as well. And so, that coupled with my experience here with Coach Eck and being positive, right, building confidence in players, I think all have really come to where I've developed my philosophy here in what we're doing today at Idaho.
I mean, it's pretty amazing to really think about the Chris Peterson coaching tree, right? I mean, the way
Yeah.
that it's branched off, and
Yeah.
I mean, particularly here in the Northwest, right? Because
Yes, no question.
so many guys that
Yep.
have taken different things from him and have worked for him throughout the years and made huge impacts. So when it comes to sustainability, though, I think that's another thing. Yeah, I talked to Bobby Houck about this, Brent Vegan about this, several other coaches from around the conference at the Big Sky kickoff, and they were saying it's a high priority for them because now, I mean, with cell phones, computers, texting, I mean, you could work 21 hours a day if you really want. I mean, sure, you could work
No
24
doubt.
hours. You work 24 hours a day if you want,
Sure.
but
Sure.
you're going to burn out and die if you do
Yep.
that, right? So
Yep.
it seems like there is sort of a heightened awareness of what it takes to be sustainable from a coaching perspective. It seems like you guys are trying to find that balance.
Yeah, no question. And I think, I've been on staffs that have worked both ways, and I always feel like exactly what you said. The staffs that are really burning at both ends, being here at 5 a.m., staying until 11 p.m., mid-season, you're burnt out. You're
Right.
feeling it, and when the coaches are feeling it, the players are going to naturally feel it too. And so, with our staff, I think we do a really good job of, just having this understanding, like you can, be done when you're done. Don't leave a minute sooner than that, and I think if guys do a great job of being organized, you can get out of here at a decent hour and still feel ready to go for that next practice.
Are you ready to tackle your next real estate adventure? Whether you're hunting for your first home or diving into big league land acquisitions, Array Real Estate is in your corner. At Array Real Estate, they are not just a real estate team, they are your agents for life. Array Real Estate's mission? To help you crush your real estate goals one deal at a time. Array Real Estate's roots run deep in the heart of the Pacific Northwest as proud alumni of the University of Idaho. With offices in Coeur d'Alene and Seattle, the team is here to give you a legendary real estate experience. Your success isn't just a goal, it's their top priority. Everything from cozy homes to land development to commercial spaces, Array Real Estate has you covered. They are all about making your real estate dreams come true with a dash of Vandal pride. Ready to make a move? Visit ArrayRealEstate.com and join the fun on Instagram at ArrayRE. Let Array Real Estate turn your dreams into wins. Array Real Estate, your go-to team for all things real estate and proud sponsors of Vandals Weekly. Array Real Estate will make real estate magic with you. There's always a party in Montana, whether you're going to a wedding, a football game, a concert. Montana Party Bus can get you there safe and will take you anywhere in Montana. You can relax with friends in style, luxury, and safety. Western Montana based for local and regional travel within Montana borders. Montana Party Bus is great for both large and small groups with a capacity of up to 30 guests. If you want to elevate your event, call them anytime, 406-200-8096. You can also visit mtpartybus.com. Travel anywhere in Montana in style with the Montana Party Bus.
Next practice.
Well, I know you have a young family, and I'm sure guys on your coaching staff do too.
Yep.
That could be sort of a revitalizing thing, though, because I mean, I got a young family too. When you're not with your family, that drains you too. So just being home even for an hour or two every night with your family probably helps revitalize all you guys as well.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, today was the first day of school here in Moscow, and so we're not going to have a staffer till a bit later this afternoon, so everybody could take their kids to the first day of school. And I think those moments matter the most, right? You're never going to get, for example, our tight ends coach, Sheldon Cross, his son is the starting quarterback at Moscow High. He's a freshman.
Oh, nice.
And, Sheldon, they had their first game Friday night. And so I told Sheldon, you don't need to be at the walkthrough. Go to the game. We could take care of the walkthrough. And so little things like that, I think really matter. And I think anytime your staff believes, the head coach has their back, they're definitely going to have the head coach's back and work a little bit harder throughout the season.
Well, we'll certainly talk about specifics of your roster and of your staff, but just a couple more things here. I just want to ask you about each side of the ball, just from a
Sure.
coordinator and coaching staff perspective. Always been impressed with Matt Linehan ever since I first covered him. I covered him his senior year there at Idaho when Idaho went all the way to a bowl game. He was a great player, and we had him on this podcast before Vandals Weekly even existed, and he's a fun guy to talk to. You can always tell, obviously, a football guy from a football fan.
Yes.
How has he sort of taken control of the offensive staff, and what do you like about the way that staff has come together? You mentioned Sheldon Cross. That's also a prestigious name, a guy that's been
Yep.
around
Yep.
the West quite a bit in a variety of different places. So how have you sort of seen the offensive staff evolve so far, and what have you thought of Coach Linehan sort of leading the way on that side of the ball?
What's awesome about Coach Linehan is, we work together as assistants, and this was his first, being the receivers coach here was his first full-time gig. He'd been obviously in the SEC at Missouri, he'd been at San Diego State, so he had experience. He wasn't like a green brand new coach, but that was his first position job, right? Where he's owning a room, and he had some characters in that room, right? And so seeing his growth and just the change in mentality from, hey, I'm responsible for one position to, hey, I'm responsible for a staff. I'm responsible for all of these positions, and I'm the quarterbacks coach, right? I think that transition for him has been really natural. I've seen a maturation process that he probably doesn't even know is happening. He's just doing his thing, but I've seen it. I can tell you that he is a much different football coach than he was 3 years ago when he was the receivers coach starting out here with Coach Eck's staff. And then the rest of the staff, we've really built around him. Our run game coordinator, offensive line coach Lauren Ensley is phenomenal. Him and I work really well together, building our run game plans and our pass protection plans. He's about as smart of a guy as I've been around as far as offensive line play, and he really is a developer. And he's a former play caller. Our receivers coach Tyler Pow. He was the offensive coordinator at Augustana, one of the top offenses in Division II football last year. And, we mentioned Sheldon Cross, and then obviously Lance Dunbar, our running backs coach. It doesn't hurt to have a guy that's played 6, 7 years in the National Football League, right? He
Yeah.
gives great perspective on, especially in our third down protection game plan. And so again, I think the offensive staff has been great. We knew Matt was a first-time play caller, but certainly not a stranger to offensive football. But we built a staff around him that has been in those situations, that have called that 3rd and 7 from the -35 right before. And so he's got great support around him, and I think he's done a really nice job organizing this offense.
And defensively, I know Court Dennis was a guy that had great returns during his time at Louisville, and seems like a guy that's rising through the ranks as a great young coach. So, what have you thought of just sort of him putting his stamp on the defense?
Coach Dennison, he's what I'm looking for in that DC, right? Coach got a screw loose in the best of ways. He fires those guys. He's going to coach those guys hard. I mean, he is going to get after those guys, but he does it out of love, and those guys know that, right? Every one of those guys knows that he's got a great relationship with them, and he can chew on you when he knows you, and he knows what you're capable of. And so I think he's done a phenomenal job just like putting his stamp on what the standard of football is going to be here on defense. And then our defensive staff has done a phenomenal job rallying around him. I've got Neil Fendel here, who's, a 25-year veteran. He's coached at Cal Poly, played at Portland State, so he's very familiar with the Northwest, with Big Sky football. And he's been a great help with special teams, obviously, as our coordinator, but has really helped solidify that defensive staff. And, I've got some really up and coming young coaches, and Avery Roberts and Treston Daycoot. And then, our defensive line coach, another guy, kind of like Coach Dunbar, Tavita Finau, he's another guy that played in the NFL, at the position he's coaching. So we have a ton of experience, but no egos, right? Coach Dennison knows that, yes, I'm an offensive guy, but I know my way around the defense too. And so he's consistently getting with me about things that are tough for the offense. What things do I see on tape? And so it's a very collaborative group, and Court at the end of the day is going to make the call, but I think he does a phenomenal job getting the input to make the best call.
Open up against Washington State, so just up the road for you guys. Any thoughts on the Cougs early on here as you guys get ready for week one?
Yeah, obviously they've been pretty close to the vest over there with what they're doing. I think Coach Rogers obviously has a great track record as a head coach there at South Dakota State. I'm sure their culture is going to be tough and physical, and they're going to do some great things defensively. Offensively, we'll see. They've got kind of a quarterback battle over there. Could be several guys. I think it'll be number four. He has a ton of experience and has played well in a lot of football games during his career, but excited for the opportunity. Anytime you can play an FBS opponent and sleep in your own bed, I don't think that's a bad deal. So getting up, getting over, and treating this week as close to a home game as you possibly can has been really, I think, a major advantage for us for sure.
Vandals Weekly here on the Big Sky Breakdown podcast. Series Thomas Ford joining us, the first-year head coach for the Idaho Vandals. Coach, appreciate the time. Thanks so much. We'll catch up with you next week, but thanks for being here today.
Yeah, you bet, Colter. Appreciate you having me, and I look forward to seeing you.